Welcome to Wholesale Hardknocks. This podcast was created by me and Daryll squatting up together and doing badass shit. And we want y'all to do the same. So most importantly, squat up in the comments and do deals together. And then like the video, subscribe to the channels. Yo, Daryll, take them away, big dog.
It's about community building. Join the community, reach out, squat up, join the campfire, baby.
Let's go, man. Episode 44, baby. Wholesale Hardknocks. It's your two favorite hosts on YouTube every single Wednesday live at 5 o'clock Arizona time, 7 o'clock Eastern time, where we drop all the sauce on wholesaling real estate. Today, we have a very, very fun topic, a very great topic that me and Mike talk about on a daily basis, right, on a regular basis, a crucial topic to be able to understand and have a good, be good at this to get more deals, right? So we're going to talk about sales, baby, the art of sales, and the three things that you need to do if you suck at sales and you want to get good. Mike, my brother, what's going on, dog?
What up, big dog?
How you feeling?
I'm feeling blessed. Blessed to be here, bro. I'm feeling happy today. We are rocking and rolling, getting things in motion, going through all the things, but I'm excited. This is one of my favorite topics. Yo, me and Daryll were just backstage talking about sales and talking about our sales journey and everything like that because we have a very similar sales journey. And not to sound cocky, but literally I was like, bro, are we that good at sales? Like, are we like that good? And Daryl was like, bro, we have went through all the things to get that good. Like, it just makes sense that we are that good. So it's no surprise. We've put the reps in. We've done the work. We've literally have got the blueprint on how to get nasty at sales. And we learned from literally the best salespeople on the planet. And I think what me and Daryl were just talking about backstage was like, I think we take it for granted. All the things that we have access to and how much we have learned, because I listen to other people in other industries or just even in other real estate businesses that aren't even around the people that we're around in the sales environments that we're around, and they're not even close. Like, it literally isn't even close. So it truly is like the people that you surround yourself with, you do become. And me and Daryll have surrounded ourselves with the best community when it comes to getting good at sales. So we're excited to spread the love and get y'all nasty at sales.
Let's go, baby. So, Mike, what are the three things that you would tell somebody who has never sold a thing in their life and they're like, yo, I want to be good at this thing we call sales? What are the things that you're gonna?
First thing I'm gonna tell them is that they are wrong. They have sold things in their life. We have all sold things. If somebody came to me and they're like, Mike, I've literally never sold a freaking thing in my whole entire life. I've never sold nothing. I've never made any money off of sales. I've never sold anything. I would tell you, bro, you have been selling your whole entire life. You just don't even know it. That would be the first thing that I would say. Meaning, like, let's just say you were a little kid. You were a little kid and you wanted to get some candy. Okay. You go into the CVS store or whatever the case is, and you see the Starburst as you walk in and you're like, Mommy or Daddy, I want the Starburst. You have to sell whoever your parent figure is in that store to get you the Starburst. That's selling. So we've been selling our whole entire lives. And once we start putting our brain towards that, then we start realizing that sales is life. Like, it really is life. And once you understand like how to never have a question on what goes on during a sale or during getting your way, once you realize that there's no questions on why you didn't get your way or why you did, life gets crazy. Like, I start to predict everything that is going to happen in life. Daryll was just going through something for a transaction that he's doing right now for a deal that he's got going on. And literally, he just broke down as he's listening to the people. There was an issue with a buyer or whatever the case is. And as he's listening, the buyer gets off the call and me and Daryll start talking about it. And he's like, oh, bro, this is exactly what's going on. This, that, and the other. Daryl's team member comes back into the room and says literally exactly what Daryl said was going on. But it's because Daryl understands sales in general. He just understands like what is going to happen in life because he understands sales at such a high level. So the three
real quick, bro. I think that's a very important topic to talk about. Every conversation that you ever have in life will be sales.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're trying to get this girl to like you and you want her to be on your team, whether you want to sell yourself as to why you should work out every day, right? Sell somebody else as to why they should have faith in you, right? Like why somebody should work with you, whatever, right? Every conversation that you have in life is sales. You're getting somebody to think a different, like you want somebody to think, to go from how they're currently thinking, how they're currently operating, to how you want them to think, right? Like, and you just got to ask people the right questions to help them come up with the answer themselves. Like, listen, right? Real quick, bro. Like, I had a conversation with Marlon today, right? And Marlon asked me a question, and he's like, "Bro, what do you feel about this? How do you think about this?" Right? He asked about a certain, not to put like his business out there. He just asked asked about a certain product, right? And he's like, "Do you think I should, like, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think I should do this? Right? Do you think I should sell this?" And I asked him a question. I said, "How does that align with your goals for the year?" And he answered the question himself. He's like, "You know what? I think I should do this." And I'm like, "Well, there you go. That's the answer. That's sales." Right? Like, I closed him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I helped him change his way of thinking. I knew the answer. I knew what the answer was. But instead of me saying, "I don't think you should do that," right? He's not going to take it. He's not going to take it the same way as if he came up with the answer on his own.
100%. And Daryl literally just sold somebody without being caught selling.
Facts.
So the best salespeople ever sell and never get caught selling.
Well, I got caught because I told him I'm the type of person to tell you I closed you if you're my friend.
Yeah. Listen, I want to let you know that I closed you. I love it. He did the post sale.
Yeah.
I love it. So there's three major things that you need to know in order to start like understanding this sales thing completely. Okay. First thing is learning. You got to learn sales. And there's a couple different things we're going to dive deep into. And we're going to dive deep into all three of these things. Okay. You're either learning, well, there's three things you have to do. You're learning sales, and then you're applying it, and then you're systematizing it. Okay. So you're learning it, you're absorbing the information, right? You're practicing it, you're doing the thing in some form of fashion, and then you're systematizing it so that you have no questions on what is going to happen in the sale, so that you know what is going on at all times. So that just like what happened with Daryl's situation, you're not freaking out. Like Daryl, most people in your situation right there, he literally, like, it sounded over the phone. I just hopped on to the backstage, right? And I started listening to the call. I'm like, what the heck is going on? This sounds crazy. It sounds like the craziest call. And Daryl's sitting there just cooling. He's just like, yeah, whatever. I already know what's going on. Like, we just got to have to do this, that, and the other. Because he has everything systematized and he knows exactly what happens in these transactions because he's put in all the reps. Just to touch on a little bit what we talked about before, you're either being sold or you're selling. So Grant Cardone, I know my boy's getting a lot of heat right now, man. My boy's getting a lot of heat on social media, but that's my guy. He says you're either, what's his book called? Sell or be sold. So at all times, you're either selling something or you're being sold. So let's dive into it. Looks like Daryl might have got lost in the matrix a little bit. We'll get right into it. So we have the three things, right? We have the learning, we have the applying, and we have the systematizing. The learning, where the learning comes from, is a few different things. When I first started out, I was learning through books. I was learning through listening to other people's calls, and I was learning through actual like training modules. Okay. So it kind of depends on how you learn, right? So you're going to want to understand exactly how you learn as a person. Everybody learns different. For me, I'm a monkey see, monkey do type of person. So out of all those three, I was tripling down on listening to other people's calls because I see exactly what they do. Okay. And I'm going to go implement it. That's how I learn. So let's break it down again. Other people's calls, other people doing the thing. That's one way you learn. The other way you learn is through training, like actual modules itself. And then the next way you learn is through books, right? Like modules. What do I mean by modules? Is like somebody literally in the back of a screen, just like we are right now, teaching sales, right? That's one way to learn. The other way to learn is just through books, audio books, people breaking down sales. For me, like I said, my biggest thing is listening to other people's calls. So in the beginning, I was like consuming other people's calls. I was also listening to audiobooks, like sales audiobooks, and watching all the sales training modules that I had and everything like that. Those two didn't really do much for me. Listening to people's calls is what did it for me. But you need to know from your personality type what you learn best at. So if you learn best by, sitting there listening to an audiobook and then taking all the information in the audiobook and go implementing it, then triple down on that. You triple down on the thing that you learn, the way that you learn the best. So Daryll, I just broke down for them. The first thing that we're going over is learning, right? You need to learn, you need to apply, then you need to systematize. First thing of learning, right, breaks down into three things. You're listening to other people's calls, like a monkey see, monkey do type of thing. You are listening to like a sales training module, like getting a coach, right? Okay, getting a coach that's going to walk you through sales. And maybe that's not even like recorded modules. Maybe these could be Zooms or something. Like, let's just say Daryll put out a sales training. He did a weekly Q&A, right? That's training. That's getting sales training, right? And then books, audiobooks of killer salespeople that have written this shit down. So out of those three for you, like what are the most important?
Bro, the most important one is training, bro. Like sales training, paying for it, right? Like investing in yourself is super important, right? That's one thing that a lot of people are afraid to do, right? That's one thing I'm not afraid to do. That's actually something I look forward to do is invest in myself, right? Especially like if we're younger, like we are, Mike, right? Like a lot of people try to figure out, what should my first investment be? Should I buy a car to put on Turo? Should I buy a house? Like they've never done anything before. I recommend your first investment is in yourself, and you invest in a mentorship somewhere that teaches you how to get leads, how to close deals, how to talk to sellers, how to have conversations. And you do all the things like Mike said, the calibrations, and you listen to other people's calls, and you take somebody's lead, follow somebody who's taken the lead and actually done it, right? I just made a post today, bro. It was from a 10-hour live. Somebody asked me if I could start all over wholesaling, what would I do? And the easy answer was jump on somebody's team, right? That was a year ago where I said that. Like the answer stays the same. Jump on somebody's team who's actually doing deals. I said verbatim, I said, go find the person making the most money in your market and get on their team. And watch how fast you learn how to sell.
So good. And that's like depending on what they have for sales training, right? Because most companies will have some sort of sales training.
Yeah.
You're gonna get that from that team, right?
Yeah.
So sales training, what happens is if for what Daryl's talking about, usually when you get a mentor, like a coach, like a sales training coach, they're gonna give you, maybe they're gonna give you recordings of their own calls. Maybe they're gonna give you a sales book that they're gonna refer you to and everything like that. And then what Daryll really is touching on though is like the proximity to the person that's actually teaching you. And they could be teaching you through just recorded videos, or they teach you through a Q&A or something like that, like a live Zoom. I like the live Zoom like a little bit better than the modules. But then again, this is a thing where, you got to figure out what you want best. So Once you break it down, you're probably right. Here's what I said. The most important thing for me was was listening to people's calls, but I couldn't listen to people's calls until I paid for a mentorship.
You pay for a mentor, yeah.
So you kind of brought it to light. What the most important thing is finding somebody who you vibe with that actually is doing the thing, right? And then they're going to open you up to the other two things when it comes to learning, and that is the monkey see, monkey do, and the books and stuff like that, right?
Bro, are you done investing in like courses and mentorships?
Heck
Like,
no.
sales?
Heck no. Dude, I've been like, and if anybody knows of any like high level mastermind or mentorship that they want to put me onto, please shoot me a DM at the Mike Gomes, because I'm ready to deploy some bread into some masterminds, because it's now February 22nd and I have not bought any courses or masterminds or anything like that, and I want to do it ASAP.
There you go. It's important, right, to continue to grow your education, right? That's one of the most important parts of getting good at sales, is continuing the education, right? Like you learn, you can't just learn. You learn something one time, you can implement it, you can continue to make money off of it, but you're not going to grow until you continue to learn new things, new skills.
Like me and Daryll need to level up now. We're probably not going to go into a sales mastermind or a sales training that teaches us, all the intricate things on how to talk to sellers or something. We're probably going to get into a higher level thing where we're getting taught how to manage salespeople.
Yeah, how to read people's minds and shit.
Now you're getting into high level stuff. I love that. Cool, bro. So let's break it down. When you were listening to books, because you've probably listened to audiobooks and stuff like that, let's break down all three things when it comes to learning. Books. How did you listen to the books? Like, what were you doing? And maybe name a couple books that might help.
Bro, any time that I had a chance to there comes a time when in your journey where you need to just like become obsessed with this shit, or it's not gonna work, right? So any chance that I got to listen to audiobooks and listen to Pace's seller calls, right, or other people's seller calls, I would. So every time I was driving, I wasn't listening to music, I was listening to audiobooks. Anytime I was cleaning my house, I wasn't listening to audio, I wasn't listening to music, I was listening to audiobooks. Any chance that I got, and working out, running, right, I'm listening to audiobooks and not music, right? Because
being obsessed, having a university in your headphones rather than somebody talking about sex and drugs.
Without a doubt. And it's just like downloading everything into your brain. And then one day, like for instance, with Pace's calls, right? I got really good because I was just listening to Pace's calls every chance I got. And then when I'm on the phone and I get an objection that Pace had got, next thing I know, I just spit out what I heard him say on a Zoom. And it's like, damn, I didn't even know I had that sauce.
Yeah, bro, that's crazy that you said that. I'm talking to one of my new acquisition managers today, right? And I'm just explaining like how for some reason I can just like come up with something really quick that makes like it just comes off my tongue. I don't know where the heck it comes from, right? And it's just all these files that I have in the back of my head from listening to other people's sales calls, from doing the thing myself. But as you keep going, you're going to put these files in the back of your head. Like I was explaining to him one time, Pace hopped on the phone with my seller, okay, at midnight. This is at midnight. So I'm in Boston. It's midnight over here. It's like 9 o'clock where he's at. Lady answers, and he said two slick things right away. He was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that it's midnight over where you're at. It's like only 9 o'clock where I'm at. I'm in the office trying to figure out, what deals we're buying and stuff like that. I'm about to leave." Whatever he said, right? But something very slick and quick. And then right after that, he said, "Oh, well, he was like, it was a reverse mortgage type of deal. He's like, "I'm the reverse mortgage person in our business." And I'm like, how do you even come up with that, bro? Like it was so quick and slick. But that only comes from like experience and doing the things and having files in the back of your head. And I was hoping that you were going to say that when it came to the books and the calls that you're listening to. It's not only just listening, right? It's literally absorbing the actual things that they're saying and then going to implement them. Okay. So for me, I'm going to break down like listening to people's calls now. Now we're going from books. Hey, we have read books, listened to books. We're taking all the information and we're going to implement it the next day or that day on calls. Now, when it comes to listening to people's calls, what I would do, Daryl, is I would like break everything down. I wouldn't just listen to the call and like, absorb it. I would pause it. And I would think to myself, why would he say that?
Yep.
Like, what made him say that? Because now it's a next level of learning. I'm going to give you some sauce right now. Okay. A lot of people have tough times like remembering people's names. This is what helps me remember people's names. If I just meet Daryl and Daryl gives me his name, there's a couple of things you can like repeat Daryl's name a bunch of times and stuff like that, right? In order to put it in your brain. But what helps me is putting something in my brain that tells me why I should remember Daryl's name. And now I remember Daryl's name even more. So now I have learned Daryl's name. That's pretty much what's happened. I have learned Daryl's name. I haven't remembered it.
That's good.
So what happens is, right, when we're listening to people's calls, we want to break down why they're doing the thing and then putting in your brain why they're doing the thing. Now, all of a sudden, instead of just a name like Daryl, right? Daryl is just a name. It's hard to keep one file of a name in your head. Now I have Daryl's name and a reason why I should remember his name. So when it goes to listening to people's calls, let's just say Daryl was like, dang, I really liked what Mike said on that call. He had a really good, line where he overcame that objection. Let me put that objection in my vault. Cool, that might stick. But what's going to stick even more is sitting there and listening to listening to the call and then putting in your brain why Mike made that specific remark. Like what was his techniques? What was his thought process while he was making that, while he was saying that? And now it's going to be implemented in your brain. Okay. So we have listening to calls, books, and now a sales trainer, like a trainer. We touched on it a little bit, but let's touch on it a little bit more. As far as a sales trainer goes, or any trainer, this could be like if you're into fitness, this could be if you're into drop shipping or whatever the case is. You're looking to get a trainer that's going to teach you through modules or teach you through Zooms live or whatever the case is. You want to vet these people and you want to figure out like what their business looks like for one, what their life looks like for two. Like, is this the business that I want, right? Is this the life that I want? Do I look at that person's life and I'm like, yes, that is the life that I'd like to have at some point, right? And three, who is this person like as a person? Do I vibe with this person? Do I match this person's like morals and ethics? Does my personality match this person? Like all these things, you want to vet these people. And figure out who they are as a person. And once you figure out who they are as a person and you vibe with them and you're like, dang, this is somebody that I digest easily, that I could like vibe with, I could go hang out with them. It makes sense. That is the person that you were going to learn the most from. Okay. Next thing. Adrian says, so you associate something with a name that reminds you of that person. Yeah. Put something in your brain, not just the name itself, but put something that would make you remember the name, similar to a line that somebody says on a seller call. Like make it be remembered for some sort of reason. If I just said, let's just think of an objection really quick. If I just said something along the lines of like, let's just say somebody says, what's your offer? Right? One of my objections to that could be, oh, that's a really good question. I've been on calls for like an hour today already. Haven't even had the chance to run the numbers on this thing, but and I go into the next thing and it's an open-ended question. Somebody might take that sentence that I just said and put it in their brain, but it would stick in their brain if they really broke down why I just said that sentence. And once they break down why I just said it, oh my God, he just addressed what the person said, right? He pretty much came up with like a hypothetical solution and then came up with an open-ended question to get them off of the objection. That sticks a little bit more than just saying, oh yeah, he just said something about he's been on calls for an hour. That's cool. I'm going to use that. Yeah, that's cool. But that's simple, right? So you want to find some sort of reason why you should remember that. Okay. The next thing we're looking at is applying. This is dope. So now that you have learned the game, and you can do this, like you don't have to do this, learn, then apply, then systematize. Like you can do all this simultaneously with each other, right? So I was learning and applying the next hour, right? I was applying and I was trying to systematize it the next hour. I was doing all this stuff at once, right? So you don't have to just like be in analysis paralysis, just learning all the time and not applying, right? You want to be doing all these things at once. So now that you have learned sales, you're reading books, you're listening to seller calls, you have a trainer and all these things, right? And you're starting to apply things. What applying looks like is two things. Breaks down into two simple things. Practice, like we're talking about practice, right? Practicing it and actually doing the thing. So if this is like a football game, you're practicing, right? You have your game film and all that type of stuff. And you go out in the field and you run around the cones and do all the things. And then you actually get in the game and you play the game. So that's applying, taking everything that you just learned, okay? Everything that you just learned back in the classroom where you were going on the chalkboard and you were going over the X and O's, all those things that you just learned, and you are now applying it at practice and on the field. So this is how you take everything that you learned and you actually physically see it happen. So a couple of things for practice. Here's what I would do. If I was practicing, there's a couple different things. I am hopping on the phone with somebody or hopping on a Zoom with somebody, and I'm doing physical role plays every single day. When I first started, I was doing role plays every single day for like Monday through Friday for 2 hours every single morning before I did my calls. Very simple. Somebody acting like a seller and somebody acting like a buyer, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, stopping it, and then going over the call, going over what we did good, what we did bad, what we needed more work on, all that stuff. That's practicing. So that's one form of practicing. Okay. Another form of practicing is not even doing the whole entire thing, but just practicing all these little things that we might learn in the sales training, right? Like practicing overcoming objections. I say an objection, like if I'm practicing with somebody, let's just say I'm practicing with Adrian, okay? Me and Adrian are practicing. I come up with an objection and he has to come up with a hypothetical solution and an open-ended question. And we just keep doing that back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? All these little trainings. It's almost like when you play football, right? In practice, you have your offensive practice, you have your defensive practice, and then you have like these drills, okay? Like you go over the bags, you do the cones, and you do all those things. And then you guys come together as a team and you practice as a team. That's pretty much what this is like. Give me 1 second. So you're practicing, right? Just like you would on the football field. You're doing drills, you're doing your offense, you're doing your defense, and then you're coming together as a team and doing the thing. Okay. Fabian asks, can you please walk us through your call/sales process? Reading through the Sandler Submarine book right now. I'm wondering how you guys go through your calls. Yeah, we're actually, that's going to be in the systematized section that we're going over. We actually did a dope sales training probably like 6 or 7 months ago going over the Sandler process. So for anybody that's listening that doesn't know what the Sandler process is, write down this book and then read this book. We should have actually went over this in section 1. So you can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar. This is the book that will change your freaking life. This book is crazy. This is going to break down exactly how you should be going about the sales process. Cool. So now that we have that, we have practice, right? We're doing drills. We're doing the offense, defense. We're coming together as a team. We're doing all those things. Now we have to actually do the thing. So I don't just notice, I don't just practice alone. I'm not just sitting there practicing alone. Actually, I actually did do that. Let me back up a little bit. There's one other thing about practice. The other thing about practice I wanted to add was recording yourself. So when I was in college, playing football in college, we used to record all of our practices and would have to go back and watch the practice and see what we did good, see what we did bad. I would record everything. I would record in the beginning of my sales career. Still now we record everything, but I would record my seller calls and my practice, and I would go back and listen to it. So that's one way. I guess that's part of learning too, but that's how, we get better at practicing. You need to get better at practicing too. You don't just have to get better at doing the thing. You have to get better at practicing. So you practice and then you end up going to do the thing. Same thing with doing the thing. When you're doing the thing, you're going to want to record. That way you can go back and watch it and listen to it and you see yourself. I was just on a call today with a new acquisition manager that we hired, and we're going through a call calibration, which means we're listening to the call from a previous call in the week. And he ends up listening to himself and he's like, bro, I hate how fast I'm going. He didn't realize that while he was on the call, obviously, right? Or he would have slowed down. But then he went back and listened to the call and he's like, holy crap, I sounded so fast. I need to slow it the heck down. So that's why it's important to record and then go back and watch all your stuff. So once we have practice, Daryl, I just went over like practicing the thing. So I went over, getting on role plays with somebody. I went over, the different drills that you could do. I geared it towards football, right? Like in football, you have practice. And when you're practicing, you have these mini drills, and then you get together as an offense and defense, and then you get together as a whole team. That's kind of what practice is like for calling as well. Like you do these mini drills, and these mini drills are the things like where you do your labeling, you do your mirroring, you do your objection handling and all that stuff. Those are your drills. And then you get together as a team, and then you start going back and forth with a full out conversation. Okay.
Bro, we've never spoke about that, but I do the same exact thing. Same exact thing.
Love it. So once you have practice, you now have to do the thing. So Daryl, speak about like actually when you're in the beginning, when you're applying, we're now in the applying phase. When you're applying, what does doing the thing look like?
When you're applying, doing the thing is making the calls, actually making the calls every single day, bro. And not thinking about making calls, not pulling lists and scrubbing lists and doing all this extra stuff. Making the calls and taking the action, even if you suck. When you suck, that's one of the best times to make calls, because how else are you going to learn? Right? You're not going to learn unless you actually take the action and go mess up, and then come back to that person that is mentoring you, showing you the ropes, and show them like, hey, I messed up. How did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? You know? So yeah, I'm sure me and Mike have spent hundreds of hours making calls to sellers, getting told no, getting cursed out, getting hung up on, right? Literally, you've heard it all. We've heard it all because we put the work in, right? There's no handouts in this business.
100%. You got to get on the field and do the game. It's like Tom Brady. Tom Brady could tell you exactly what a defense is about to do.
Yep.
All because he's done so much practice. Homeboy has you, and you know what's funny? You actually practice more than you're actually doing the thing in football, right? So that kind of tells you something. But
you practice more than you literally practice more than you play.
Yeah.
You practice all year for 10 games.
Legit.
10 guaranteed.
So think about that. You're literally practicing. Think about this. You were practicing, like, probably in sales, you're probably practicing 95% of the time and closing maybe 5%. And probably less than that.
Probably less.
Like, you're practicing like 98% of the time and then you're closing 2% of the time. But that's another story. So doing the thing, right? It's just like Tom Brady, like I said. We talked about in the beginning on how me and Daryll can literally see exactly what's about to happen in the sales process. Like, I know exactly what's going to happen. Literally. Like 2 minutes into the call, I already know exactly how this seller gets closed. I know exactly if we're going to get a deal on this call or not. I literally know the whole entire thing. It's similar to Tom Brady. Once he hops on the field and sees the defense, he knows exactly what the defense is trying to do. Like, he can pick that apart, but it's because he's been doing this thing for so long. Right. And he's gotten so good at it. So when you're doing the thing, you got to be relentless.
For sure. You actually have to look forward to getting. Let me not even say that, because I was actually, depending on what stage you're at, you're going to get told no way more, right? Way more than you can get told yes. Even no matter what stage you're at, you're going to get told more than you can get told yes. But once you get at a certain stage, you become like really, really good. You're going to get told no a lot less, right? Because we're not going to get into that. We'll get into that. We'll get into that after we get into the system. Like, that's the system side of things, right? But in the beginning, you almost have to look forward to getting the word no, right? Count how many no's you get before you get a yes, right? I used to get super excited. Like, when I got cursed out, I'll be like, oh shit, I mean, I got a deal coming soon. You know what I'm saying? I used to get happy when somebody cursed me out, because that just meant in my mind that I was that much closer to getting deals, right? And this is when I was cold calling. So I was getting told no. Every person who answered the phone was like, no, cursing me out, right? And I'm just like, all right, bro. Cool.
And the no's start getting bigger and bigger. Like, I remember as I kept going, like Daryll said, you're going to get a ton of no's in the beginning, but they're not that big. You get a no, you call somebody and they say, no, I'm not interested in selling. Then you're going to start getting to the point where you're on appointments, and then you start getting no's when you're about to get a contract signed. And they start hurting.
Yeah.
This is what happened. I got a no one time on a seller appointment. This is probably like a year into me doing this thing. I go on a seller appointment and I give my offer and I get a no. And I'm like, what the heck? Gave an offer of I believe it was 165. Okay. And I thought the highest I would ever get a buyer for was like 185 tops. So I wasn't really budging. I think I told her I can come up another 10 grand to 175 or something like that. She said no. I crushed the appointment, right? I was super confused of what happened. Bro, I ended up not getting the deal. And then 5 months later, I see it listed on Facebook for 240 grand. Somebody locked it up, and I knew the wholesaler. Somebody locked it up at like 205 grand, well over what I was doing. I didn't know the buyers in that area that could buy that deal for that amount of money, right?
Damn.
Oh, that was a hard no to take. So as you get deeper into it, you're going to get bigger no's and bigger learning lessons. But when that happened, it didn't even hurt. I was excited. I was like, wait, hold on. I just unlocked something crazy. Because I now know I have like 20 leads in my pipeline that I got to go back to tomorrow to call, because they probably have a buyer for me.
Yep.
So getting a no is good. So let's talk about systematizing. Actually, before we go into systematizing, talk about some things that you got going on, bro.
Bro, right now, I'm going to announce this. I'm not going to announce it right now, but just stay on the lookout for a special day where we're going to come out, and I'm just going to drop as much value as I possibly can, like more value than I've ever dropped on a live Zoom, or we're going to go live on Zoom. So, just be on the lookout for that. If you're not already in the Dog Pound Discord, what the hell are you doing? We got close to 500 people in there right now. Join for all these announcements. I announce everything in there first, right? Before I'm going to drop it. So make sure you join the Discord for all those early announcements. It's in the description below. Mike, what you got, bro?
Same exact thing as last week. Facebook group. Facebook group is going crazy. We're locking up deals in that Facebook group. Go to blueprintrei.com. Okay, blueprintrei.com. It's free. I haven't locked it up yet. I don't think I'm going to lock it up. But I'm going to do something similar to what Daryll just said. I'm releasing something in the Blueprint community that's only for the Blueprint community.
Ooh, that's dope.
Blueprint community is only going to have access to that. So go to blueprintrei.com. Free community. I don't want any money for it. I freaking love the community. We hopped in a Zoom last week. It was fire. Talked to some sellers. People learned some stuff. Went over novations. Actually, I'm going to do a Zoom not this week, probably next week, breaking down novation agreements and how we hammer novation agreements in that Facebook group. So go to blueprintrei.com to get in that free Facebook group. Daryl, let's talk about systematizing sales, bro.
Let's do it. So we were just my bad, bro. Go ahead.
So when it comes to systematizing sales, like what comes to your mind?
So everything that we were just talking about, like how you get used to getting the no's and you know, you have to get used to people cursing you out and sellers doing all this extra stuff. You having a system cuts all that out, right? You systematizing this sales process, this sales dance, as we like to call it, will cut all of that shit out. Mike, when's the last time a seller cursed you out on the phone?
Never.
Right? Like it just doesn't happen anymore because what'd you say?
It used to, for sure. I was on a call today. My acquisition manager had a call that he wanted me to hop on. Guy was being a super jackass. Like being a super jackass to my sales guy. And all I had to do on the phone, and I'm not telling don't use this, right? You can only use this with very certain people. But I had to get a little bit like I had to pump my chest a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I literally told the guy, I'm like, hey, bro, I'm trying to buy a house here, and it's like pulling teeth trying to get some information out of you. Can you just give me like what the heck is going on with the house? So I was like just enough upfront with him, so he started to give me some information. But I realized I can only do that with that certain person. It's like 10% out of
for sure
people that you can do something like that with. But since I understand sales and I have a system, I knew that I could do that with that particular person.
Yeah, bro. So what it's exactly what you just said, right? So having a sales system and like a sales framework, it allows you to control these conversations, take back control of these conversations. It allows you to distinguish and determine if somebody's actually motivated, right? Somebody actually needs to sell, and if you should actually be wasting time on the phone with this person, right? Because when I said just 5 minutes ago why I don't get as many no's as I got before, it's not because I'm getting more deals, or I am getting more deals, but it's not because like I'm just closing everybody I speak to. It's because if my system tells me that they don't have a problem, I don't offer a solution because they don't have a problem. So every time you offer a solution to somebody who doesn't have a problem, they're going to tell you no. So I literally cut my success rate. I doubled my success rate by not offering as many contracts, as many deals, because people don't need the offer, right? They don't need the solution, right? So having a sales system helps you filter out who's actually serious and who's not.
Here's what happened when I started like having a system, probably maybe like 3 to 6 months into me learning sales and everything. But probably like a year or so into it, that's when I really perfected my sales system. And here's what it did for me. Those 6 months where I didn't really perfect it, I just kind of had an idea of what to do. I would be super confused when I went on an appointment, gave an offer, and got ghosted. or they said no to my offer.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen to me anymore.
Facts.
I know exactly why somebody would say no. I know exactly when they are ready, right? So that same exact seller that I was talking to you about, after I said that to him earlier today, he ended up opening up to me, started giving me some information. There's one thing that I have in my sales system that I will not move on to the next step until I have this. And this is what is justifying them making a decision. So one thing I found out what this guy was caught up on was understanding the value of his property through a realtor. So he has a really trusted realtor that he needs numbers back from, and he's not making any moves until he talks to that realtor. That's information that I had to pull and grab. I wouldn't have known that I needed that information unless it was already programmed in my system, right? So when you have a system and you have all these steps, right? And I call these steps buckets. They're all buckets that you have. And if you go to my YouTube channel and you go to the 8-step sales process, you will see I'm actually dropping a new video tomorrow about the 8-step sales process and all these buckets. Daryll actually has a sales process of his own on his YouTube channel. You can type in, what is it, 6-step or something?
I'm on 6 steps.
6-step sales process, right? And all these steps are buckets, and you need to fill these buckets up before you go into the next step. Okay, so there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? Like, you don't have a sale unless you fill up all the buckets.
Yep.
Okay. That way you were never stressed out. You're never like, well, damn, why ain't I getting the deal? Why did I submit an offer and it didn't get accepted? Well, go back and look at the buckets and see if they're all filled up. And when you find out that the budget bucket is not filled up, then you know why you didn't get the deal. Go figure out how you fill up the budget bucket and then come back to me.
Yep.
So
Yo, 1,000%, bro. Like we had a call, we did a call calibration today with Leo on my team. And I tell them all the time, don't bring me a call calibrate, don't bring me a good one, bring me a bad one. Bring me one where you're like, I don't know why this person is not following up with me so we can actually learn, right? And he's going through the call, he's going through his sales system. Seller kind of threw him off a little bit. Seller kind of, threw a curveball at him, and they got into price a little early. Actually, that's what it was. The seller said that he was open to selling on seller finance. Before we got the rest of the information, before we got, what the seller's looking to accomplish, before we got the biggest step, one of the biggest steps, the influencers, right? Mm-hmm. Who are the influencers? Who are the other decision makers that are going to help them make a decision, right? And he starts going into his pitch, and I stop it right there. I said, well, that's why he didn't follow up with you. That's why he didn't reach back up. That's why he's not answering the phone now. That's why he's ghosting you, right? You skipped a crucial step. You pitched him the solution when the whole team wasn't there, right? So not everybody's on the same page. And active listening is so important, right? Because one of the things that the guy said, one of the words that he chose to say was, instead of I need to think about it, he said, we need to think about it, right? He didn't say we need to think. He said we had some. He said we could do terms or something like that. Like, he said we could do terms.
Who's we?
Very right. Who's we? And we never brought that up, right? We gave him a solution. We jumped the gun. We gave him a solution, and now the guy's ghosting us, right? Because we skipped a step. There's somebody else out there who probably told him, hey, I don't think you should do this on terms. I don't want to do this, right? It was probably a great idea to the seller, but not the other decision maker.
And here's what happens. We're talking about these buckets, right? You would have figured out right then, if you knew, if let's just say you have, I used to have, on my whiteboard, a list of all my buckets, right? And whenever I would get stuck in a call, I would go and look at the whiteboard and see what bucket I had to fill up. Okay. If Leo at that moment was looking at the whiteboard and all the buckets, he would have figured out that he would have needed to find out who the decision makers were, because that's one of the buckets, right? And he would have tried to get some information, and then he would have realized, oh, wait, this dude needs to talk to his wife, or this dude needs to talk to his partner or something like that. He's not making any decisions unless he talks to them. Yep. So why don't I do this? And this is where everything is coming full circle. This is why it's important and this is how you fill the buckets when you get stuck, right? Because on every call, you don't just fill up all the buckets right away. You'll never do that. Maybe 1 out of 1,000 calls, you're going to fill up all the buckets in one call and have a 1 call close. That typically doesn't happen. Here's what usually happens. You get in the middle of one of these buckets and you can't fill it up, and you have to give him homework to help you fill it up. So for Daryl's example, you have to go back to the seller and say, hey, so I know you said the other day that we had something to go over, that we had to figure something out, right? Help me understand, who is we?
Yep.
Finds out we is him and his wife. Okay, what does your wife think about the deal? Oh, I don't know. I haven't talked to them yet. I haven't talked to her yet. Okay, do you think that, like, are you going to be able to move forward with this deal if you don't talk to her? No. I have to do everything through her. Okay, cool. So why don't we do this? Why don't we have another conversation tomorrow? In the meantime, go have a conversation with your wife and figure out how much you guys need for your property, or figure out what terms you guys want, or something like that. And then we'll have another scheduled follow-up call tomorrow.
Yep.
And now on that call, you're going to get some information to fill up the bucket. Now you can move on to the next step. Okay. So if you guys want more information on the steps me and Daryl have pumped into our YouTube channels, and I'm coming out with another video tomorrow, the 8-step sales process video, again, refined, going over that tomorrow. Daryl has a 6-step sales process video on his YouTube channel. Just to break down like what the steps look like. Would be sitting here for like 2 hours going, and probably more. Like, I think that sales training video we did was like 3 hours long. We'll be sitting here for another 3 hours going over all the steps. Last but not least, tracking numbers, Daryl. Talk about tracking numbers when it comes to sales. So in the systematized thing, you know how we had learning, we had apply, and under learning and apply, we had like a few different things. Yep. Systematize is the last one. And we have 2 different things. The 2 different things are, one, having a system. Okay. We just went over that. Me and Daryl just hammering over what a system is and why it's important. Now, the second thing is tracking your numbers. Okay. What does that look like in your business, Daryl?
Bro, so we track our numbers a few ways. So for our closers, we really track conversations, right? Like, I'm big on conversations. I'm big on calls as well, but we track conversations, we track calls, contract sent, contract signed.
Go over that one more time.
So we track calls made.
How many dials? Like how many times you were physically hitting the dial button? Okay.
Yep, and a double dial does not count.
All right.
Double dial does not count. So how many dials, right? How many conversations have you had?
Okay.
Right. And
conversations, just conversations, or like over a certain time frame?
Over 60 seconds, I consider a conversation.
Got it.
Anything over 60 seconds, I consider a conversation. And then how many offers have we sent out physically?
Okay.
How many offers have we sent out? And then how many contracts have you gotten signed?
Love it.
Because that's not always the same number. You send out
100%.
contracts, and not all of them are going to get signed.
So it's important that you guys are tracking all these numbers, and here's why. This comes back to, it's almost like the first thing we were talking about. You won't have any questions on what's going on. Here's the key. If you guys have, there's like a pattern here, right? You just want to be in a position where you have no questions. You know exactly what's going on. You know exactly what's going on in the sales process. You know exactly what's going on in your business. You know exactly what's going on with your wife when you're trying to get your way, okay? Like just in sales in general, you know exactly what's going on, right? So for tracking numbers, once you track them, you will understand what problems you are having or why you are having success in your business. So Daryl was tracking the amount of conversations he's having. So Daryl's going to see a trend in his business. He's going to say, okay, I see when we have this many conversations over 60 minutes that we end up getting this many contracts sent out and that we have this many signed. That tells me something, right?
Yep.
Also, it takes about this many dials to do that. Right? So here's what happens. When Daryl goes back and checks the numbers for dials, let's just say he starts there and he's like, boom, dang, the team's been hitting their 100 dials or wherever they have to hit, right? They're crushing it. Now let me check this one. The amount of conversations they're having. Wait, they're not having enough conversations? They're not hitting their dials for that? What the heck is going on? That's going to tell you something. it's obviously not the dials, right? Like the person's actually working. It's not the amount of hours that they're sitting there working. It could be a couple different things. It could be the phone numbers. They're not having enough. They're not connecting enough. Like the phone numbers are bad, or it could be they're just not asking the right questions to extend the conversation over 60 minutes, right? So now you have some homework to do. You got to go dig and figure out the solution, right? Or let's just say you are sending out contracts, but none of them are getting signed. Okay, you're hitting your dials, you're hitting your conversations, but then when you send out all these contracts, none of them are getting signed. What's going on? Let's go back to up here. Let's go to this conversation thing. There's something going on in those conversations where it's preventing us from getting contracts, and so on and so on. So this just shows you that you will never have any questions on what's going on in your business.
Facts, without a doubt. And I mean, and one thing that we do as well. So if you have a team yourself, and it's really important to keep like the competitive team spirit, like competitive and like just working together, right? Like my team, we get team bonuses if we hit our quarterly, our monthly, and our quarterly goals, right? And that means everybody gets paid, right? So it's teamwork. And one thing that I do is I show a scoreboard. I have a scoreboard set up so that they see. I could actually probably pull it up.
Scoreboard.
It's gonna find if
Don't lie, bro.
real talk. If this is gonna provide y'all some value, put a fire in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you want to see the scoreboard. If not,
y'all want to see the scoreboard or what? Hey, are we gonna put your sales team on blast?
That's what I'm saying. We're putting the sales team on blast. So if y'all want to see it, like I don't mind putting them on blast. You know what I'm saying? But only if people want to see it.
One of your sales members are looking right now. They're like, "Dang,
like, please don't press 1. Please don't press 1."
Like, I'm pressing 1.
We only got 1, so it's only must be one person wants to see it. That's all that matters. If one person wants to see it,
no. Hold on. There's like
there's like 20 people watching. There's a lot of people watching.
Okay, now we're getting one. Okay, see, Tim, we don't put all the weight on your shoulders, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like
real top. There we go. All right,
we got some ones.
See if we can pull this up, man. So this scoreboard, this acquisition scoreboard, is actually pretty cool, right? I use this. This is on Miro, right? So it has our targets, right? So I actually need to update this, but we have either one signed contract every week or 100 conversations a week, which is really light, bro. Like I ask myself this question every single day. I'm like, yo, how many calls were you making when you were on the phones? And I was having way more than 100 conversations in a week. But it just goes to tell you, like, when you build a team, right, when you have people underneath you, you can never expect somebody to do everything that you are doing, right? But that's why it's important to clone yourself multiple times. So if I have 3 people that did half of what I did when I was on my own, that's still better than me by myself. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're teaching everybody else, and you're creating more leaders, right?
You know what's interesting about conversations, bro? I track, like, not physically, but like internally, I'll track the amount of conversations that I have now, not with sellers, but just people in general.
I like that.
How many conversations do I have a day, bro? It's probably at like 100.
I like that. So look at this, bro. This is pretty dope, right? So this is my weekly scoreboard. This is my monthly. And then it goes quarter 1, quarter 2, all to quarter 4, right? So all that is there. And like one thing that we can look at, so look at Rolando, right? Rolando makes a bunch of calls. His calls isn't the issue, but he only has 4 conversations, right? So what's one this is for the week, right? So and look, he makes more calls for the month. Like he makes way more calls than everybody, right? And his numbers are lower, right? So what is that telling us? Right, it's either something with his phone numbers, either the people that he's calling, right?
You gotta get in the dog pound more, bro.
What do you say?
You gotta get in the dog pound more, bro.
Why you say that?
It means he's gotta get better at his conversations.
Well, he's not having people aren't answering the phone for him.
Or didn't you say conversations are over 60 minutes? I mean 60 seconds.
60 seconds.
Or he could be connecting with people. He's just getting hung up on.
That could be a thing. I don't assume that that's for this guy. I don't think it's that, but that's something to look into that I'll definitely take a look into.
But I bring this up, and I'm not saying Rolando, it's probably just the freaking phone numbers, right? But here's the thing that you're able to do once you start tracking everything, you can like interrogate what is actually going on.
For sure.
You can really get down to the actual problem, because now Daryll might go back into his system and see that the phone numbers are great. Okay, dude, the phone numbers are great. You're working. Like, what the heck is going on?
For sure. And that's the thing, bro. That's exactly what we do, right? So if you see these KPIs over here on the left side, these acquisitions targets, if you don't hit these targets, and this is a clear expectation that is set for everybody when they join the team, right? You are expected to hit your KPIs. You're expected to hit your numbers, right? You're expected to be a winner. You're expected to fucking close deals, right? We set this expectation, you know? And if somebody goes 2 weeks without getting a contract, which is the main KPI, right? The main target that we have, somebody goes 2 weeks without doing that, I'm going to take a look at the conversations, right? And I'm going to say, okay, are you...
We need to get Daryll some high-speed Wi-Fi. So I think what Daryll was saying is we got to take a look at the call calibrations. We got to go into the conversations and see exactly what is going on with these conversations, and literally listen to the conversations and see, hey, are you just asking the wrong questions? Are you coming off wrong? Like, what is going on? Guys, this has been another Wholesale Hard Knocks going over sales training. We've done probably about 2 or 3 of these already. The first one was crazy. The second one was even crazier. So the first one, we went over like the process, right? So along with me and Daryl's step processes on our YouTube page, we also did a Wholesale Hard Knocks like 8 months ago about processes. And then we went over like all the accessory things in sales. So you're going to want to go over those 2. Now we have this wrapping everything up. So sales training, everybody. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM at the Mike Gomes. Shoot Daryll a DM at Daryll Ellison. This was fire. Throw some ones in the chat. Share this. I need you guys to take a screenshot of this and share this on your social medias. Tag me, tag Daryll. Type in hashtag Wholesale Hard Knocks. All the things. We are out. Peace out.